The terrifying shooting in Minneapolis just shook the nation, and the facts behind it are chilling. We now know the identity of the shooter, as well as a disturbing video that he recorded before the attack. As expected, Democrats are trying to pin the blame on Republicans and President Trump. You're not going to believe what the media is saying about this, but before that, please take a second to like this video and consider subscribing to become part of this growing community.
It was like shots fired, and then we kind of like got under the pews. It kind of, they shot through the stained glass windows, I think, and it was really scary, and I just ran under the pew, and then I covered my head. My friend, saved me, though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit. He went to the hospital. I was, 2 seats away from the stained glass windows, so they were, the shots were, right next to me.
The shooter's name is Robert Westman, or I should say was Robert Westman, a man who changed his name to Robin and identified as female years ago. In the shooting, 2 children aged 8 and 10 were killed, 14 others were injured, while 3 adults were also hurt. There will come a time when we'll admit that we have a mental health epidemic here in our country. It's one that's affecting radicalized individuals, and this isn't helped by the violent rhetoric that we've all seen and heard from the Democratic Party and its leaders. I want to show you what their mayor is saying. Because the shooter was a trans person, he decided that it was his job to defend him and the entire trans community.
I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
That was Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey contradicting himself in one clip, because let's get to the facts here. Democrats are defending the trans community as Christian children were literally shot to death. That's a fact. Mainstream media would have you believe that this is a political issue. Listen to how CNN is talking about these senseless killings.
The United States flag outside the White House has been lowered to half-staff as the nation mourns 2 children, ages 8 and 10, who were killed in a shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis earlier today. The children were sitting with classmates in church pews during a mass. At least 17 others are wounded, 14 of them children as young as 6 years old. We just learned the 3 adult victims are parishioners in their 80s. The Minneapolis police chief just moments ago said all of the injured victims are expected to survive. The school includes students pre-K through 8th grade. This was the first week of school. The mayor of Minneapolis today expressing profound grief and frankly also some anger at the failure of our leaders to take sufficient meaningful action to prevent the continuation of massacres like these in the United States.
Here's something that the media might not touch. They're not going to go over the manifesto of this shooter. The footage of the shooter's manifesto does exist online, although I'd probably get flagged if I showed it to you. But to give you an idea, this was obviously a very mentally troubled individual. The shooter had multiple clips with different phrases of hate, with the biggest clip having the words, "Kill Donald Trump" inscribed on it. Another had the words "Sponsored by BlackRock" on it. And yet authorities are having difficulties in finding a motive.
So right now we don't have a clear motive to establish for why he did this at the church today. We're obviously open to every possibility, and we're hopeful that once we are able to go through the scene, all of the evidence that's collected, that we'll be able to better provide answers for our community.
Yeah.
We can already see that they're putting a smokescreen over this, especially since the shooter obviously leans to the left, with him hating President Trump specifically. But if you ask Democrats like Senator Amy Klobuchar, she'd tell you that we can't tell for certain what this guy's ideology was.
These kids did extraordinary things, but they never should have been put in that position in the first place. This was a madman. He was an all-purpose hater, by the way. Hated groups left, right, you name it. There's no way to pin an ideology on this, and I think people should remember this as the facts come out about this manifesto.
And here's something that Democrats are angry about. They're angry about prayers. I'm not kidding. I understand that we have different beliefs when it comes to religion, but why are Democrats suddenly attacking prayers when they're out protecting violent shooters from criticism.
The thoughts and prayers, I'm so beyond that nonsense, the lie of that. Because what we have are people who continue to stand in the way of actually doing something to stop the violence against their own kids. It is amazing to me. We watch young kids die in classrooms and now in church, and all we get are thoughts and prayers.
It's insane to think that people are getting called out for saying thoughts and prayers, because we know for a fact that many Christians find peace within a prayer. And then there's the outrage from Democrats after people called out that this guy was from their own party.
This is not the time to jump to conclusions about the shooter, right? What his ideological views might have been, what his own personal situation was. And this is the time where, unfortunately, Americans have a habit on social media of speculating about things and sometimes vilifying communities and making assumptions about communities who might be responsible before we have any information that would indicate who is responsible or whether they're part of any particular ideological or other community. So I think right now it's unsatisfying, but we need to just wait, not jump to conclusions. What is this administration doing right now other than saying our prayers are with you? We have a president right now who's talking about sending the National Guard into cities across the country that supposedly have a crime problem. Can we talk about the proliferation of firearms in this country?
Just to remind you, it took high-profile Democrat Barbara Streisand just a few days to publicize that Thomas Matthew Crooks was a registered Republican, the same guy who tried to shoot the president last year. They cared so much about party affiliation back then, but won't do the same if the shooter is a Democrat. Funny how that works, right? And of course, it's always Trump's fault. That's been the script for the left for years. The double standard in our country is clear, and it's disheartening to see that violence is affecting so many children, even in places where most of us should feel safe. But what are your thoughts on today's topic? Make sure to comment them below. And also, don't forget to share this video to your friends, and of course, subscribe to keep this community growing. Thank you for your time today. Talk to you in the next update.